my name is Phillip Calloway. I am the broker owner of Influencers Realty Group in Miami, Florida. I am one of the YPN board members for the Miami Association of Realtors, and I'm just thank you so much. I'm just super happy to be here. I'm a crypto certified agent through Proppy, and I'm here to talk to you guys about crypto and the real estate market. So let's jump on in. So today I want us to walk away with three main points. The first is to have a The first is to know that you're walking away with a basic understanding and feeling confident on what crypto is. Anybody in the room have no idea about crypto? No? We got most people who are crypto people. Awesome. I want you to understand how NFT ownership is changing the landscape of the real estate industry. You may or may not have heard that we've already had 2 NFT properties sold in the state of Florida in the last, just this year. So understanding how that's going to change the way we do business and looking forward thinking. And then finally, understand how you can use cryptocurrency with your buyers and sellers today, right now, in our current market. So first and foremost, what is crypto? Crypto is a digital or virtual asset. It runs on a blockchain. So you've probably heard of Bitcoin, you've probably heard of Ethereum, you may have heard of stable coins, USDC, USDT. If you're into the crypto space, you know about Luna and Terra, which recently lost over $40 billion worth of money. Huge losses there. But those are all different examples of cryptocurrency. So the thing about Bitcoin and Ether is it's very volatile. You know, they've lost over 60% of its value since the beginning of the year. So it's a really big thing where stable coins, with the exception of Luna and Terra, have been pretty much stable, and you don't have a whole lot of volatility there. But at the end of the day, what does crypto do? What is the purpose of crypto? And essentially it's to allow for secure peer-to-peer payments and transactions without needing the bank. So I like to use this example for how crypto is most used. It's for payments between one person and another. So Gabriel, good friend of mine, he likes to travel. And one day while Gabriel's traveling, he loses his wallet. He loses his wallet, he loses his passport. He has no way to get any money. The only thing he has is his cell phone. Gabriel shoots me a message, hey Phil, I'm stuck in such and such country. I have no way to get my passport. I have no way to get any money out of the bank. Can you help me out? Sure, Gabriel, how much money do you need? Well, I need about 10 grand to get back to the United States because otherwise they're not gonna let me on anything. All right, so let's start have a real conversation. Gabriel, do you really need 10 grand? Yeah, I need it. Once we vet out the fact that it's really him and not some spammer trying to get me to give them money, right? Because we all know that happens. I'm sure you get those emails. Oh, so-and-so, I'm stuck in such and such place. I'll promise to pay you back. So once we get past the fact that it's not some scam, all right? Gabriel, how can I send Gabe money? Well, most of us would want to Zelle the money or Venmo, right? But Zelle and Venmo both have $2,500 limits for how much money you can send. So if Gabriel really needs that money, now Gabriel's stuck waiting 4 days for me to Zelle him $2,500 a day. That's not gonna work, because especially if he's stuck. Well, how else can I get him the money? I could wire it to him. All right, Gabe, I'm gonna go to my bank, I'm gonna wire you $10,000, give me your bank account information. But what's the problem? Gabe has no passport, Gabe has no ID. How's Gabe gonna walk into any bank and get this money out? All right, so we're back to how can I get Gabe this money? So we both have crypto, right? Gabe's got a crypto wallet on his cell phone. I have a crypto wallet in my cell phone. I can send Gabe directly from my crypto wallet to his crypto wallet, and the transaction takes place in a few minutes, maybe an hour if the blockchain's running slow that day. But essentially, he's got his money right away. And he can take it and he can convert it right on his cell phone, send it right to his bank account, and make the payments that he needs to make so he can get back home. Right then and there, without having to walk into a bank ever, right? And so when you look at cryptocurrencies, besides investments, the number one way people are using crypto is to send money. Now, when you think about it, why would people be sending money like that? Well, a lot of people. How many of you guys are not from the United States originally? Or your family's not from the United States originally? Maybe you were born here, but you got parents, family in another country, right? The number 2 way that crypto is being used is for remittances. Because Western Union is taking 25 to 30% of your money when you want to send your family members home money. So now crypto is a way for you to send your family members money. They get it right away, and they're not having to pay those high, exorbitant remittance fees. So we talk about crypto. What is a blockchain? A blockchain is essentially a digital ledger, and it's distributed digital technology, where it means that every computer that's on the network has information to everything. So think of it as a huge database. And everybody who has access to this database has access to all of the information. And essentially the blockchain is it's a chain of blocks, right? It's not jewelry, but it's a chain of blocks that are with encrypted information. So everybody who has access to this information can see everything that's being taken place. Now it's encrypted. So if, in my example where I just sent Gabe $10,000, if Kevin's on the blockchain and he's looking at what's going on at the activity on the blockchain, he might see a transaction for $10,000 on the blockchain. He's not going to know it was Phillip Calloway who sent the money. He's not going to know that it was Gabriel MD who received the money, but he's going to see that a transaction took place on the blockchain. There's nothing he can do about it to change it because the blockchain is what's considered immutable. That means that everybody who has access to the blockchain can only observe this information. They can't change it. They can't alter it in any way, but it's a record that's always there. So a few things that we want to make sure that you know as far as terms that should be considered. The network. Obviously the network is a bunch of computers, like I said before. Pretty simple, but there are 2 main types of networks. There are centralized networks, and then there are distributed networks. So a centralized network, think of Facebook, think of the MLS, all right? Think of WhatsApp or Instagram. Remember about a year ago when we all woke up and Instagram wasn't working? And we were all freaking out. We were resetting our cell phones. We were trying to figure out, hey, is your Instagram working? My Instagram's not working. People were going crazy. Why? Because for that 24-hour period, I think it was, Facebook had a breach in their system, in their server room. And now their server is locked down, and now everybody who's on this network is no longer able to use this network. So how does that compare to a distributed network? So in the same situation, now Gabe's got a computer on the network, and Chandra has a computer on the network, and Ines has a computer on the network, and Craig has a computer on the network, and Kevin has a computer on the network, and Philip has a computer on the network. And what happens when Craig's computer goes down? The rest of the computers on the network are picking up the slack for Craig's computer, and so the network never misses a beat, and it keeps going. And when Craig gets his computer back up, he picks up right where he left off, and he's got all the access to the information that happened while his computer was down. This makes sense to everybody so far?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, a node. Remember all those different computers I was talking about? In crypto world, we would call them nodes. So a node could be a computer. A node could be your cell phone. A node could be a big server in some cloudy room, right? But at the end of the day, nodes are those individual pieces that are on the blockchain. And it's important to know that every node has a copy of all of the information that's on the network. So in that example that I said, like Craig's computer goes down. Craig's computer might go down, but when his computer comes back up, all of the information that was on the network will be relayed to his computer, so he has all that same information. Now, 2 terms that you may or may not have heard, but if you've ever set up a digital wallet, you've definitely heard these terms, KYC and AML. KYC, know your customer. The United States government and the European government essentially decided that they did not want people having these wallets that they didn't know who they were, right? They wanted to make sure that every single person, because it's all about taxes at the end of the day, and they want to make sure that every person who has an account on the blockchain is responsible for reporting properly their taxes. And so what do? They forced all the companies that host these blockchains, whether it be Coinbase or Crypto.com or FTX or whatever particular service you want to use. They said if you are going to have blockchain access and you're going to have host wallets, you need to make sure that you know who your customer is. This way that, when there were Russian sanctions going on, or if the United States wants to make sure that everyone pays taxes, or for whatever reason they want to make sure that everybody is accounted for on the network. And then that all ties into the AML, which is anti-money laundering. They want to make sure that dirty money doesn't become clean money by using the blockchain. One of the things you'll hear about all the time, crypto's just used for money laundering, crypto's used for crime. But in actuality, that the last study showed that less than 1% of crime was taking place on the blockchain. Less than 1% of blockchain activity was crime. And what they found is that the most lucrative way for you to money launder is actually through cash, through the dollar bill. That is the most lucrative way for you to money launder. So it's not actually crypto. We touched a little bit about immutability. Like we said, immutability is the fact that the blockchain can never be changed. It can't be altered, it can't be tampered with. No government entity, no corporation can come in and change what's on the blockchain. What's there is there for good. And how does this apply to real estate? So in Cook County, Chicago, there was an experiment they did where they for about a year, they were putting all residential transactions on a blockchain. The reason they did this was because there was some corruption that was going on in the Cook County Registrar's office, where if you slip some money to somebody, you might be able to get a quitclaim deed on the low. So what they did was, for a year, they experimented with this. They found that it was actually pretty successful, but the problem is getting all the different entities to buy into it. And that's something that, while as much as I love crypto, and I think if you're really into it, you can see the future coming, it's a matter of, well, how are all these different organizations going to buy in to the process in order to make it a streamlined process? I honestly think we're about 3 to 5 years away from fine-tuning that process, but from everything we see, it is coming. Now, the last term is HODL, which means it stands for hold on for dear life. So if you're a crypto enthusiast, right, you believe that Bitcoin one day is going to be worth $100,000 or $1 million, and you're not selling your Bitcoin no matter what. Even though Bitcoin went from $66,000 down to $30,000, you believe that it will go back up. And so it's a philosophy, it's a belief system that hardcore crypto people have, and you're never going to get them to sell their Bitcoin, right? Once I bought into Bitcoin pretty early, and I watched it go up to 66, and people were like, sell your Bitcoin, sell your Bitcoin. I'm like, I'm not selling my Bitcoin. Even if it comes back down, when it goes back up, I'm gonna be much more happier knowing that I held on to my Bitcoin. So how does any of this stuff that we're talking about tie into real estate? So NFTs. Like I said before, NFTs are essentially non-fungible tokens. So every one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. If I have one Bitcoin, Kevin has one Bitcoin, we can trade our Bitcoins. It's like having a dollar bill and having another dollar bill. They're interchangeable, they're always the same. Where NFTs though, more like art, more like a home, right? There's no two homes that are exactly alike. There's no two pieces of artwork that are exactly alike. So when you think of an NFT, think more of like an art piece that is on the blockchain and that can be sold and traded. Now in the United States, legally we have found that whoever is in possession of this NFT has ownership. That is what has been legally ruled in the United States. So an NFT is considered proof of ownership. And you can actually borrow against an NFT. So I mentioned at the beginning, we've had 2 NFT sales in the United States. Both of them were here in Florida. So back in February, the very first US NFT sale happened. It was a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bathroom house in Gulfport, Florida. It was sold by auction on February 10th. Auction lasted 7 hours. Over 2,000 people registered for the auction, and the winning bid was for 210 ETH, which was about $653,000 at that time. Now, if you follow crypto, you know that 210 ETH is not worth $653,000 right now. So if that seller had not converted that money into cash or to a stable coin, they would have lost over half the value of their home if
Do
they
have
were
to do
still
that right
sitting
away?
on that 210 ETH. Say that again?
Would they do that right away when they sell?
I mean, they could have. Once that money is in their wallet, they're free to do what they want to do with that money. But if they were saying, okay, I'm just going to sit on this 210 ETH, that 210 ETH is not worth $653,000 today. Now,
So wait, did they actually buy the house?
so this house was sold. So the seller received 210 ETH. The buyer sent their 210 ETH. This transaction took place that same day. So on February 10th. So the auction started in the morning, the auction ended in the evening, and at the end of the auction, title was transferred from one entity to another, and the buyer got the keys that same day. Now, how does that happen? How do you put an offer in on the same day that you get the keys?
Blockchain.
Okay, yes, blockchain, but think about this. But there's a lot more than just a blockchain. So when you walk into a house and you're looking at the house with your client, you're thinking about making an offer. But there are some things you have to consider, right? You're not going to just put an offer in and say, okay, let's close tonight, right? What do we have to do? We got to do an inspection, right? We got to do title. We got to do an appraisal. Now imagine the experience with your customer if you walk into a home and you have a title report, an inspection report, and an appraisal in your hands. Imagine the way how competitive your offer could be if you already knew what the house was going to appraise for, because it had already been appraised for you. If you already knew what was wrong with the house, how old the roof was, what the pipes look like, if they've changed out those nasty cast iron pipes or not. You'd have all that information right there in your fingertips when you showed the house the first time. Imagine how that would change our business, right? Think about the offers that you're presenting, especially in a competitive market. You know how high you can go. You know how high your customer is willing to pay over appraised value right then and there, because you don't have to guess and wait 20 days into the contract to get that information, right? You're putting your best offer forward knowing that you've got all of this information right then and there. Now, the second transaction that happened in Tampa, it was a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. This was a little different because the property came with a tenant. So there was a tenant that was involved in this particular process. But again, live auction took place on April 12th. The morning of it, starting bid was 185,000 USDC. That's a stable coin that's owned by Circle, also tied into BlackRock. Now, that wound up selling for 215,000 USDC. Now, if you 215,000 USDC on April 12th, it's still the same value as 215,000 USDC today. So when you're thinking about stable coins versus Ethereum versus Bitcoin, the volatility is a lot less. So if I was selling a house with a stable coin, I know that I received that money for that stable coin, it would still be the same over time. So you may or may not have heard about this, especially if you're in the Keys. We have the first NFT. You have a question?
Yes. How did they do the inspection and appraisal and everything beforehand? Who did that? The seller?
The seller did all of that.
Beforehand, and then put it out like.
And then put all the information up before. They also hosted 2 open houses for each property. So there were 2 open houses. You had the inspection report, you had the appraisal, and you had title all at your fingertips before, like a week before the auction.
Oh, wow.
Is there any guarantee that all that information is correct, like the appraisal and the inspection report?
Well, you as a listing agent would want to make sure that all that information was correct. So I mean, there is a process that has to take place before you do all that. Yes, ma'am. I got you, Ines.
I'm just confused about the concept. So how was that last sale an NFT sale when it's real property sold for US dollars? Just because it simply was offered and traded on
So
blockchain?
it was okay. So before the transaction took place, the seller and the seller's agent had a conversation. They said, okay, I want to try this new technology, right? So in order to turn your property into an NFT, there are a couple steps that I left out that I probably should have talked about. First things first is you have to own your property free and clear.
Okay.
There cannot be any liens, no encumbrances under your property in order for you to turn your property into an NFT. The next thing is you have to turn your property, you have to take possession, you have to take the property out of your personal name and put it into an LLC. So at that point, you're no longer owner of the house. Jan Smith LLC is now the owner of the house. There can be no other properties that are properties or assets that are involved in this LLC. So it's a standalone LLC, just the properties in there, nothing else, right? And at that point, you would need a digital wallet. So you, the seller, have a digital wallet. You can now, once the auction takes place, the day of the auction, you're going to receive your money in whatever coin you decided, whether it's Ether, Ethereum, whether it's a stable coin, whether it's Bitcoin, however you determine that auction will take place, that's how you'll receive your money that day. And title will transfer the same day as the auction. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So where does the NFT part of this come in?
So the NFT is created. So Proppy does offer a system where they'll turn your property into an NFT, so that the NFT actually will live in the digital wallet on the blockchain. So so like you see these pictures, that's essentially a picture of the NFT that would be in the wallet, in the digital wallet.
And then say now you want to pass on.
Now, if I want to pass on after the auction, I'm transferring from my wallet to your wallet. And now that the NFT is in your wallet, you have ownership of the NFT.
So does that essentially become its own Bitcoin type? With each property?
It becomes not a Bitcoin, but it's an NFT.
Okay.
So so we're all familiar with Bored Apes, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club and all these different NFT profile pictures. You go on Instagram and you see a bunch of people with apes as their profile picture. Each one of those apes is an NFT. Now, what's to stop you from screenshotting it and making it your page? Nothing. But at the end of the day, you don't have that NFT in your wallet. So if you were ever asked about, hey, can you prove this is yours? No, you can't prove it's yours because you don't have the NFT in your wallet. So the NFT in the wallet now is proof of ownership. Instead of keeping my deed in my safe deposit box that I want to make sure that's safe and secure and that no one can ever steal, now it's in my digital wallet.
Well, where are you going to keep track of what the original wallet ID for that property is? Because somebody else can just make the same thing.
Again, that would be recorded on the blockchain. So and you would have access to the blockchain to be able to see that.
It's all public.
And this is why you need to make it an LLC.
Exactly.
So then you can keep track.
And that's you want to ask something?
In those two NFT sales, do you know if there were realtor commissions paid?
There were on both of them. There were realtor commissions paid on both sides.
So they were both on the MLS, is that what's clear?
They were, sorry, I thought I said it, sorry. They were both on the MLS. There were realtors on both sides. So how it worked was, if I'm the listing agent and I put this, now we're putting it up to auction, if Chandra is the buyer's agent, she's gonna make sure that when her buyer registers for the auction, that the buyer puts, okay, Chandra Etienne is my agent. And so at that point, all that information will be captured. So that when at closing, Chandra gets paid, I get paid, the seller gets paid, and the buyer gets their house.
Get paid in.
No, you're not getting paid, and you don't have to get paid.
Okay.
This is a double-edged sword, because once you have it on the wallet and then now you're transferring it from wallet to wallet, you no longer need a real estate agent.
Well, you would need a seller's agent because you would need to make sure that you did it properly and that your property was still marketed. And your property's not gonna go on the MLS, so unless you're just putting your property up for sale by owner, no one's gonna know about your property. Right? So there's still the marketing aspect of listing your property and all that. All that stuff has to take place. And the majority of sellers are not knowledgeable enough to get the title report, get inspection, get the appraisal, and all those things that have to be done in order for you to sell your property as an NFT. So the sellers are still gonna need help to get to this point, and buyers agents will still be involved because you're still gonna be taking your property, you're still gonna take your buyer to the open house. You're still gonna make sure that your buyer knows about these properties because they're on the MLS. Okay, so the first NFT mansion that's coming in Miami. It's gonna be called Meta Residence 1. It's a project with One Sotheby's and Vogel Architects, who they're building a 11,000 square foot home. It's gonna be 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and it's gonna sit on about an acre lot. All right, so it's currently under construction with plans for the physical house to be finished by the end of the year. When the person buys a physical, they're gonna auction it off just like they auctioned off the other NFT properties. But at the time that the auction happens, the person will not only get the house, the real world physical house, but they'll also get the same exact house in the metaverse. So now if you're looking to host events in the metaverse, you can actually have people walk through your home in the metaverse, if you're into all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so crypto with your buyers and sellers. How does this help us today, right now, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we want to know. How is this going to help us make more money or help us serve our clients in a better fashion? So, you're going on your listing appointment. You feel like you got it in the bag. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, will you accept crypto payments, cryptocurrency as a payment? Simple answers. Going to be yes or it's going to be a no. If it's a yes, they need a digital wallet. They need to be set up to decide what type of cryptocurrency they're going to receive, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoin, whatnot. And it's important to remember that even if your seller agrees to receive crypto payments, the contract and all of the documents are still going to be expressed in US dollars. So I'm not selling my house for 5 Bitcoin. I'm selling my house for $500,000. And whatever that breaks down in Bitcoin is what I'm willing to accept. But I'm not selling my house for 5 Bitcoin. I'm selling my house for a price in US dollars. If they say no, they want the cash. Now your buyer you might still be able to advertise as far as crypto, but the buyer would have to convert their crypto into cash. And there is a third party, FTX and BitPay are allowing you to convert your currency into cash for settlements.
What's the percentage they take on the transaction?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's something you might want to research, but I can tell you that.
You're losing money if you do a crypto sale. Because unless you're keeping it in the wallet for future investments. Because then if you want to pull it out in USD, you're going to go through the exchange commissions.
Yes.
So, okay.
All right. Buyer's agents. Okay, so one thing I like to talk about here is that right now you have what are called crypto-backed mortgages. So your buyer has crypto, they don't necessarily qualify for a traditional mortgage, but maybe they have $1 million in crypto, $500,000 in crypto, just sitting in their wallet, but they don't qualify for a traditional mortgage, and the seller's not willing to take crypto as payment. You can use certain banks now. So Milo Bank, M-I-L-O, offers a 30-year crypto-backed mortgage. So you can put up your crypto, leverage your crypto to get a mortgage. Abra and Celsius don't offer 30-year mortgages, but they're offering 10-year mortgages where you can leverage your crypto to get a mortgage. And right now with Celsius and Abra, you need about 3 times the amount of crypto for the price. So if I want to buy a $500,000 home, I need to have at least $1.5 million in crypto in order to get a loan like that. And lastly, why this is important to you. So Redfin put out a report at the end of last year, that 1 in 9 first-time home buyers last year sold crypto to come up with their down payment. 1 in 9 first-time home buyers sold crypto in order to come up with their deposit. Secondly, for those of you guys in Miami, there's a company called Property Markets Group. They are the developers for the Waldorf Astoria and for 11 residences. So far, they've sold over 75 condos using crypto. All right, and in the 12-month period that ended in April, over 400 sellers of single-family homes, condos, and townhouses in the Miami MLS were open to accepting cryptocurrencies as payment. So you have a market for people who are looking to use crypto, that are willing to accept crypto for payment, and people who are looking to use crypto for payment. That is my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it.